So yesterday I had my first experience of giving clients online therapy. So I started a new placement. So this is my second placement, so I can get my 100 hours of placement for this year, and this one is all online. I've spoken about it in one of my previous videos, so I'm going to share with you how it felt to do online therapy as the counselor rather than the client this time, and what you can expect if you decide to do online counseling as a therapist in the future. So first of all, did I like it? Personally, I liked it. I don't think it was problematic. I didn't find it difficult. And for me, what made this process a little bit easier was that these clients were from the same service. So they were just being transferred from a different therapist to me. They already knew the contract. They already knew the procedures of working with this company, and the payments were already done and everything. So I didn't have to worry about that. There was definitely a lot of emailing beforehand. So sending contracts, things that needed to be signed, all had to be done in advance before the session, well in advance before the session. And then at the start of the session, it was just a case of just double checking payments were done, and I forgot to record one of the sessions which I was supposed to record. Well done me. And I forgot to ask the other client if she had done her payment, so I'll have to ask her next session. But I'm going to extend some grace to myself. You know, first time online, it's not the easiest. I was really nervous if I was going to lose Wi-Fi connection and stuff like that, but it wasn't that bad. Personally, I enjoyed it. I wasn't particularly comfortable because I had to pick a room in the house where the lighting would be kind of consistent and it was super quiet and it wasn't my usual place. So I had to just sit up really straight on a stool. But luckily with Zoom, you have the blur background effect, so I could kind of hide them the background behind me, which was useful. So to answer the question, did I like it? Yes, I did like it. It didn't feel too different from face to face. So was I nervous? How did it actually go? Well, actually, I think I was more I don't know. I wouldn't say I was more nervous than my first placement, because I remember on that one I was sweating profusely. If you see my vlog, I was sweating the first day of my placement, but this time around I wasn't sweating. I was just kind of nervous, so I just sat in front of the laptop setting things up and just calming myself down. And then I remembered that I hadn't set up the link for the Zoom, because obviously normally as a client I get emailed the Zoom link and I'm just yeah, and then I was like, oh crap, you haven't sent your clients the link to their Zoom session. So it was around 4:30 and the first session was at 5, so I was like, okay, quickly. So I did that, sent her the email, and everything went well. I was really, really scared that Wi-Fi was going to play up, because it's been playing up a lot. Because you never know with internet, connection can disappear. Anything can happen with technology, right? Luckily, nothing went wrong. I was using Bluetooth earphones because those are the only ones I had. And I was like, what if they just die? My laptop was plugged in the whole time, even though I knew it was fully charged. I was a nervous wreck. But after you got into it, it was quite chill. It wasn't too bad. And I feel doing introductions online do feel a bit kind of limited, because obviously all you've got is someone's face and all they've got is my face, and then it's that's it. There's no opening doors, sitting down in front of each other. It's just screen on, screen off. And the same thing with logging off and saying bye. You say bye, you might end the meeting while somebody is saying bye, have a nice evening, and then you cut them off before they finish saying it, and it's it's just very awkward. It's not planned, it's not nice. But overall, I'd say it didn't feel too different. I say there were definitely pros and cons for everything. I'd say the pros were that obviously it's very easy to kind of just quickly saves you time. You just log in, log out, and you're at home still, or in your office, or wherever you want to do it. And you can kind of just carry on. So even if you're on holiday, you can still speak to your clients, which is fantastic, because then you don't have to take time off. Another pro, which can also be considered a con, was the fact that because I didn't have body language to rely on, all you can kind of see is their face, maybe their hands and their arms a little bit. I found myself being more focused and listening better, because of course with internet connection you don't want to speak over each other, you don't want to lag. And with one of my clients, I could hear myself sometimes when I was responding and saying and saying yeah. I could kind of hear myself echoing on her end. So online made me definitely less verbal in my responses, so that I could actually hear better and listen better and make sure I didn't miss anything. Of course, with internet connection, you never know what to expect. One day your internet could be great, the next session it might not be so great. But I think I definitely enjoyed the element of just being able to focus on just their face and not kind of analyzing their body language as well. I was just focused on what they were saying and how they were saying it and their facial expressions. There was no having to figure out body language to this, of which, like I said, that might be a con, because body language tells you so much and it helps you to also understand so much. And I don't think this type of therapy, online therapy, would work if you're doing somatic therapy, which is body focused and heavily dependent on noticing what's going on in the body and what you're feeling in the body. Another pro, I think, was definitely the lack of disturbance in terms of like environmentally. I felt like there was less distractions, because if you're in an office, or for me, like I said, in a school, there's people walking past, there's bells going off, there's doors closing and opening, and me and my client can hear everything that's going on outside the room. If somebody wants to chat in the hallway next to my room, I can hear them. There's a lot of disturbances, whereas online it felt a bit more private. It's just you, it's just me. You've chosen a room that's private, I've chosen a room that's private, and there's no one getting in the way of that. And obviously if you're at home, hopefully the people in your home respect that you've got something going on, and they can give you that hour to kind of just be away from everybody. So it definitely felt more private, less disturbance compared to, I guess, other environmental factors where maybe you're in a big building and you can hear other people, or you can hear what's going on outside. The cons, I think I've already kind of briefly touched on some of the things that I didn't like about online therapy. I think the biggest one was because I was using Zoom and I've got the free version. It only allows 30 minutes free, I think, or 35 minutes free before you have to log out and log back in. So with both of the clients, it automatically ends the session at like 35 minutes, and then the client has to click on the link again, log back in. So that disturbs the session for like a good minute or two, which is really, really unfortunate. But both of the clients were kind of okay with it. They understood. So I'm going to see if I can find maybe another platform that doesn't do that, so that the session is not disturbed. And I think, like I said, the other con is kind of maybe not being able to see body language and not having anything else much to go off except their facial expression and their voice, because body language does help a lot. It does give away a lot sometimes, and I've learned a lot from being in a room with a client and seeing their body language and how they are in the room, what they might be feeling and thinking. So not having that element sometimes isn't great, but I don't think it took away too much from therapeutic process in general. I still feel like I was able to connect with both of my clients, and I was still able to learn a lot from them, and I was still able to create a therapeutic alliance with them, even though I couldn't see their body and they couldn't see my body. I think emailing is a bit annoying sometimes, sending a lot of documents over email for people to sign. And sometimes if a client is not so tech savvy, you might have to provide a lot of instructions. Luckily, like I said, both of my clients had already been through this process before, so they knew how to do everything. But in future, I might have a client who's not so tech savvy and doesn't know how to sign documents online and stuff like that, which means I then have to email a lot and explain things or give them tutorials or something, which leads me into another thing. I think another con is just the sound, audio, video. One of my clients didn't have a video on at the start, and I was like, are you going to put your video on? And sometimes whatever client says I don't want to put on my video, or I can't put on my video, is very awkward. So connection was good for this session, but I feel like I can never be too comfortable with knowing that technology will always work out, because sometimes Wi-Fi can play up and disappear, and so I do understand there's definitely that element of technology is not always reliable. Your laptop could die, earphones could die, Wi-Fi could disappear in a second. So there's always something, so you never really know what to expect. But overall, I personally didn't have a problem with online therapy, and I still really enjoyed it, and I think it didn't feel too different from face-to-face for me anyway. So if you're looking to become a therapist one day and maybe work from home and do online therapy full-time, I feel like it's very positive. And also the fact that these are paying clients for me compared to the school where they're all getting therapy for free. These clients is a bit more dedication, coming on time, getting your money's worth, and cancelling ahead of time, rather than me just like sitting online and not hearing anything. Because the policy with this placement is that if a client doesn't come, you still have to wait for at least 20 minutes or maybe even the whole 15 minutes until they log in. You can kind of start the session whenever they log in. So there's also that element. Because this is a paid service, I believe that if a client is not able to come, they'll tell you ahead of time, so they don't have to be charged for that. So far I've enjoyed that element of it. Like this time around, I'm counselling adults. I think it's definitely not too different from counselling young people, because we all kind of go through similar issues but at different points in our lives. I think there's slightly more awareness because they've had therapy before, so they're carrying on with their therapy, so they've gained a lot of self-awareness already, which is helpful. But then there's also an element of one of my clients is a bit older, so she's kind of trying to undo decades worth of stuff and relearn and unlearn a lot of stuff. I wouldn't necessarily say it's harder than working with a young person, but to some extent it might be. Like I said, I've only had one session with her so far, so I don't know whether it's going to be harder because she's more used to it and she's more comfortable with it compared to a young person who's kind of new to it. So we'll see. I've got 3 months with these clients minimum, and then we can kind of extend it. So I'll keep you updated if you'd like to know. I'll probably talk about it in one of my future videos. I'll see you guys in the next video. Be sure to watch my vlog when I started my first placement. Bye.